What if I told you that your body remembers everything you've tried to forget? Not your conscious mind, not the stories you tell yourself, but your nervous system silently carrying every fear, every wound, every hidden moment of pain you believed was gone. You may not recall the event, but your body does. And it speaks to you in ways you can't ignore. Have you ever felt an unexplained wave of anxiety in the middle of an ordinary day? Your heart starts racing, your palms sweat, and your breath shortens, yet there's no real threat. Or maybe a harmless sound, a door slamming, someone raising their voice, sends you into fight or flight mode. Perhaps you've overreacted in an argument with a loved one. Then later sat in silence, asking yourself, why did I lose control like that? These moments are not random. They are echoes of something deeper. Echoes of experiences your mind has buried, but your nervous system has preserved. Carl Jung once warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Trauma does not always exist as a clear memory. More often, it lives as a pattern etched into the body, silently shaping your emotions, decisions, and relationships. And the most unsettling part is this: you may not even realize it's happening. That tightness in your chest, the unexplained anger, the constant need to stay busy so you don't feel the emptiness, that's not weakness. That is your nervous system speaking, trying to protect you in the only way it knows, by remembering. By holding on to the danger long after your mind has tried to forget. Here's the uncomfortable truth: forgetting is not the same as healing. Just because your conscious memory has erased the details does not mean your body has let go. On the contrary, your nervous system has recorded every detail. Until you face it, the past will keep replaying itself through your reactions, your fears, and your pain. So the real question is, are you ready to listen? Before we dive deeper into this topic, I want to ask you a small favor. If this message is already resonating with you, take a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll be the very first to know when I release the next video packed with insights to help you awaken, heal, and grow. Your support means the world. It allows me to keep creating content that speaks to your soul. Imagine this: Sarah is 35 years old. From the outside, her life looks almost perfect. She has a stable job, a nice apartment, and a circle of friends who describe her as reliable and successful. Yet, hidden beneath that appearance is a secret she can't explain to anyone, not even to herself. Every time a door slams shut, Sarah's entire body freezes. Her heart pounds as if she's about to face a life or death situation. Sweat trickles down her back and her breathing becomes shallow. She tells herself, calm down, it's just a door. But her body doesn't listen. Even after the sound fades, the panic lingers for minutes, sometimes hours. And the strangest part? Sarah doesn't remember any traumatic event involving a door. She has no conscious memory that explains this overwhelming reaction. Then there's Michael. He's 42, intelligent, charismatic, and well-educated. Friends admire him for his confidence, and women are naturally drawn to him. But when it comes to relationships, a painful pattern repeats itself. Time and again, he ends up entangled with partners who criticize him, manipulate him, and drain his energy. Rationally, he knows these dynamics are toxic. He even promises himself after each breakup, never again, I deserve better. Yet, a few months later, he's back in the same situation with a different face, but the same emotional abuse. Both Sarah and Michael often wonder, what's wrong with me? Sarah feels weak for not being able to control her panic. Michael feels foolish for falling into the same traps. Friends and family give advice, just get over it, be stronger, learn to choose better. But if it were that simple, don't you think they would have solved it by now? Here's the truth: Sarah and Michael are not weak. They are not broken. What they are experiencing is their nervous system replaying old programming from the past. Trauma is not just about memory, it's about survival. When something overwhelming happened years ago, Their nervous systems learn to respond in order to keep them alive. And those responses were stored not as logical memories, but as patterns in the body. Sarah may not consciously recall the violence she witnessed as a child, but her body does. The sudden slam of a door echoes the sound of conflict that once terrified her, and instantly her nervous system reacts as if she's back in that dangerous moment. It doesn't ask whether the threat is real. It only knows it must protect her. Michael's story is similar, but plays out differently. Growing up, love may have been conditional in his home. Perhaps he had to earn affection by pleasing others or tolerating mistreatment. His nervous system learned that love equals instability and pain. Now as an adult, whenever he meets someone who repeats that pattern, it feels strangely familiar. The relationship may be toxic, but at a subconscious level, it feels like home. And so he is drawn to it again and again, not out of choice, but out of programming. This is the devastating reality of unresolved trauma. You may not remember it, but your body carries it. Your mind tells you, it's over, move on, but your nervous system whispers, not yet, you're still in danger. And until you recognize this truth, you continue to live in the prison of past experiences without even knowing why. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever reacted in a way that didn't make sense to you? Maybe you snapped at someone over a minor comment, or you felt uneasy around a stranger without knowing why. Maybe you struggle with intimacy, trust, or boundaries, even though you desperately want healthy connections. These are not signs of weakness, they are signals. Signals that your body remembers something your mind has hidden away. Carl Jung described this phenomenon when he wrote, "What we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate." In other words, until you become aware of the unconscious patterns driving your behavior, they will keep repeating as if they are destiny. Sarah will keep panicking. Michael will keep choosing the wrong partners. And maybe, in your own way, you will keep reliving what you never wanted to face. But here's the liberating part. None of this means you are doomed. These patterns are not permanent. They are simply the echoes of unprocessed trauma waiting to be acknowledged. The body is not your enemy. The nervous system is not trying to sabotage you. It is trying to protect you with the only tools it has, the memories it never forgot. The question, then, is not, what's wrong with me? But rather, what happened to me, and how is my body still carrying it? Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Few sentences capture the reality of trauma as powerfully as this one. Jung understood that what we bury does not vanish. It sinks into the depths of the psyche, and from there, it quietly shapes the course of our lives. What we refuse to face does not disappear, it governs us from the shadows. When we look at trauma through this lens, it's no longer a distant memory that happened back then. It becomes a living force within us, alive in every reaction, every pattern, every unexplained emotion. The nervous system becomes the carrier of what the conscious mind tries to erase. And the more we deny it, the more it operates in secret. Modern neuroscience has confirmed much of what Jung intuited. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep in the brain, acts as the emotional alarm system. When something threatening happens, the amygdala encodes the experience in a raw, sensory form, not in words or narratives, but in feelings, body states, and reflexes. Long after the conscious mind forgets, the amygdala remembers. That's why Sarah's body panics at the sound of a slamming door. That sound has been tagged as danger in her nervous system. And every time it reappears, the body reacts as if the threat were present again. This is what we call body memory. It's not the kind of memory you can recall at will, like remembering your first day of school. It's implicit, somatic, pre-verbal. It shows up as tension in the muscles, a quickened heartbeat, shallow breathing, or an instinct to withdraw. For Michael, it appears as an attraction toward unhealthy partners because his nervous system has encoded instability as familiar. In both cases, the body is not betraying them. It is trying, in its flawed way, to keep them safe. The irony is that what once protected us often becomes the very thing that holds us hostage. The nervous system does not ask whether the threat is real today. It only knows how to repeat what it learned yesterday. So the past keeps bleeding into the present, and the individual is trapped in cycles they don't understand. Jung called this the domination of the unconscious. Neuroscientists call it implicit memory. Different languages, same truth. What is unprocessed will rule us. Here lies the philosophical challenge. If we do not make the unconscious conscious, if we do not bring the hidden patterns into awareness, we end up mistaking them for destiny. We say, "I always attract the wrong people," or "I'm just an anxious person," as if these were fixed identities. But in reality, they are not who we are. They are echoes of the past, ghosts of experiences the nervous system refuses to release. This is why Jung saw individuation, the process of integrating the unconscious into consciousness, as the central task of human life. Freedom, in his view, is not about controlling everything outside of us, but about reclaiming what has been exiled within us. To face the shadow is to meet the wounds, the fears, and the repressed memories, and to give them a place in the whole of who we are. Only then do they stop controlling us. Philosophers of the modern era echo this idea in different words. Existential thinkers like Nietzsche and Sartre argued that true freedom begins when we stop being prisoners of illusions, illusions of fate, illusions of inherited scripts, illusions of a self that was never chosen. To be free is to see clearly that our reactions are not fate, but patterns, and patterns can be broken. From a neuroscientific standpoint, this breaking of patterns is not abstract. It is physical. Neural pathways that have been carved by trauma can be reshaped through awareness, therapy, and intentional practice. The amygdala can learn new responses. The body can be taught that safety is possible. Memory cannot be erased, but it can be integrated so that it no longer dominates every present moment. Jung would say that integration transforms suffering into meaning. Neuroscience would say that integration rewires the brain. Philosophy would say that integration frees us from being captives of the past. Different perspectives, one truth. Healing begins not when we forget, but when we remember differently. So the next time you feel an overreaction rising in your body, the panic, the anger, the withdrawal, pause before blaming yourself. It's not a weakness, it's not fate. It's your unconscious speaking, your nervous system remembering. And in that moment, you hold the choice Jung pointed toward. Either let the unconscious continue. Have you ever snapped at someone you love over the smallest comment? Maybe they said something harmless, something they didn't even mean as criticism, and suddenly you felt your chest tighten, your voice rise, your anger flare like a fire you couldn't put out. Later, when the storm passed, you sat in regret, asking yourself, why did I get so upset? Why can't I control this? Or maybe it's not anger. Maybe it's anxiety that sneaks in when life should feel calm. You've paid the bills, your job is stable, your family is safe, and yet, at night, lying in bed, your heart races as if disaster were around the corner. You scroll through your phone, you distract yourself with television, you keep busy. But in the silence, the unease returns, whispering, something is wrong. And then there's trust. You meet someone kind, someone who shows up consistently, someone who has never betrayed you, and still deep down, you wait for the moment it all collapses. You feel suspicious when there's no reason to be. You hold back your heart, not because of what this person has done, but because of what your body still remembers from before. These are not random flaws in your personality. They are not signs that you're broken or too sensitive. They are the language of the nervous system. When the mind has forgotten, the body speaks. Anger over a small comment may be the echo of old wounds where your voice was silenced. Anxiety in peaceful times may be the body recalling years when safety was always temporary. Difficulty trusting may be the nervous system bracing for abandonment. Because abandonment once left scars too deep to erase. Carl Jung warned that the unconscious controls us most when we ignore it. Neuroscience confirms this. The amygdala doesn't ask permission from logic. It reacts first, fast, and fiercely, because its only job is survival. That's why you can know, rationally, this person loves me, or I'm safe right now, but still feel your body screaming the opposite. Logic belongs to the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain. But trauma lives deeper, in the primitive wiring that doesn't care about logic, only about staying alive. This is why people so often say, "My head knows, but my heart doesn't believe it." What they really mean is, "My thinking brain understands, but my nervous system refuses to relax." And until you recognize this, you'll keep blaming yourself for reactions that are not truly yours. They are the body's memory. Think of it like this. If you touched a hot stove as a child, your body learned instantly, stove equals danger. Years later, even if you know intellectually that the stove is off, your hand may still hesitate before touching it. That is the nervous system doing its job, protecting you from what once hurt you. Now replace the stove with betrayal, neglect, violence, or abandonment. The nervous system responds the same way. Even when the present is safe, the body lives as if the past were still happening. Here lies the awakening truth. Your reactions are not evidence of weakness, but of survival. Every overreaction, every unnecessary fear, every hesitation is proof that your nervous system fought to keep you alive. The tragedy is that the same patterns that once protected you now limit you. They stop you from experiencing love, safety, and freedom. And so, you have a choice. You can keep saying, "That's just who I am. I'm an angry person. I'm an anxious person. I don't trust people." Or you can see it differently. "This is not who I am. This is my nervous system repeating the past." That shift changes everything. Because the moment you realize these responses are patterns, not destiny, you reclaim power. Jung would call this the beginning of individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating what was hidden. Neuroscientists would call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Philosophers would call it freedom, the act of no longer being a hostage to the past. So the next time you find yourself overreacting, take a pause. Don't rush to shame yourself. Ask instead, what is my body remembering right now? What story is my nervous system replaying? That question opens the door from unconscious reaction to conscious awareness. And awareness, as Jung knew, is the first step to liberation. If the body remembers what the mind forgets, then healing must begin with a radical truth. You cannot simply think your way out of trauma. Logic alone is not enough. Reading self-help books, repeating affirmations, or telling yourself, "It's over, I'm fine now," may give temporary comfort, but your nervous system speaks a different language. And until you learn to listen to that language, the past will continue to echo in your present. Carl Jung believed that wholeness comes not from denial, but from confrontation. He called this process shadow work, the courageous act of facing the hidden parts of ourselves, the repressed fears, the unacknowledged wounds, and even the darker impulses we'd rather ignore. The shadow does not disappear by pretending it doesn't exist. On the contrary, what remains in the dark rules us with invisible chains. Jung warned, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. Healing begins when you stop resisting and start integrating. But how do we do this in practice? Modern psychology and neuroscience give us a path, one that aligns beautifully with Jung's insights. We must work not only with the mind, but with the body. 1. Somatic therapy, listening to the body. Somatic therapy is built on the understanding that trauma is stored in the nervous system. Instead of focusing only on retelling the story, it helps people reconnect with their bodily sensations. For example, when Sarah feels panic at the sound of a door slamming, a therapist might guide her to notice the tightness in her chest, the shallow breath, the urge to flee. By staying present with these sensations, without judgment, she gradually teaches her nervous system that it is safe now. Over time, the body learns a new memory. The door is no longer a threat. 2. Breath work, resetting the nervous system. Breath is the bridge between mind and body. When you are anxious, your breath becomes shallow and rapid. When you are calm, your breath is deep and steady. The nervous system follows these signals. Practices like deep diaphragmatic breathing, box breathing, or alternate nostril breathing can reset the body's stress response in real time. For Michael, who feels drawn into toxic relationships, practicing conscious breathing during moments of conflict can prevent his nervous system from defaulting to old survival patterns. Breath becomes a reminder, I am safe in this moment. I can choose differently. 3. Mindfulness, bringing the unconscious to light. Mindfulness is more than a trendy practice. It is a form of modern shadow work. By sitting in silence and observing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment, you begin to notice the patterns that normally control you. Anxiety, anger, fear, rather than being enemies to suppress, become teachers. They reveal the unprocessed memories behind them. Jung would say this is how the unconscious becomes conscious. What was once automatic and hidden is now seen, named, and therefore transformed. 4. Self-compassion, rewriting the inner script. Trauma often leaves behind not only fear, but shame, the belief that something is wrong with me. Healing requires rewriting that script. Instead of punishing yourself for overreacting, you begin to say, my body is trying to protect me. This reaction makes sense, given what I've been through. Self-compassion is not indulgence, it is medicine. Neuroscience shows that compassion activates calming regions in the brain, helping regulate the nervous system. What once felt like weakness becomes understood as survival. These practices are not quick fixes. They demand patience, courage, and consistency. Facing your shadow is not comfortable. Sitting with old fear in your body is not easy. But here is the paradox. What you avoid keeps you trapped, while what you face sets you free. Jung insisted that individuation, the journey toward wholeness, requires embracing all that you are, not just the parts you like. Freedom is born not from perfection, but from integration. So the path to healing is not about erasing the past. It is about creating a new relationship with it. The nervous system does not need to be your enemy. When you learn to listen, it becomes your ally. It tells you where the wounds are, where the shadow lies, where the work must be done. And once you begin this dialogue with breath, mindfulness, compassion, you reclaim the power that trauma once stole from you. You may not remember the trauma, but your body does. You are not broken. Let that sink in for a moment. You are not defective, weak, or doomed to live in cycles you don't understand. What you are carrying is not proof of failure, it is proof of survival. The reactions you judge so harshly, the anger, the panic, the mistrust, are not signs that you're damaged beyond repair. They are stories. Stories your nervous system still remembers. Long after your conscious mind has tried to move on. For too long we've been told to get over it, to be strong, to silence our feelings. But strength is not pretending the pain doesn't exist. Strength is the courage to face what your body has carried all these years. Jung reminded us that the unconscious does not disappear just because we refuse to see it. It waits. It waits in your shadow, in your nervous system, in the reactions you cannot explain. And the longer it waits, the more power it has. But here is the hope. Once you begin to listen, everything changes. The moment you stop fighting your body and start hearing its language, you reclaim a power you thought was lost. Anxiety no longer feels like an enemy, it becomes a signal. Anger stops being shameful. It becomes a compass pointing toward old wounds that need care. Even mistrust can become a teacher, showing you where safety was once betrayed. What you thought was weakness becomes the doorway to healing. You may wonder, where do I even begin? The answer is simpler than you think. Begin by listening. When your heart races without reason, instead of judging, Ask, what is my body remembering right now? When you overreact in anger, pause and breathe. What wound is being touched? When fear rises in calm moments, remind yourself, this is my nervous system trying to protect me. Awareness is the first step. With awareness, the unconscious becomes conscious, and what once felt like fate becomes choice. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about integrating it. You cannot change what happened, but you can change what it means today. You can teach your body new stories through breath, through mindfulness, through compassion. You can step into the process Jung called individuation, the journey of becoming whole. And wholeness is not perfection. Wholeness is embracing every part of yourself, the light and the shadow, the remembered and the forgotten. So if you are tired of fighting with yourself, stop fighting. If you are exhausted from running, stop running. Begin instead with listening. Listen to your body, because it has been speaking to you all along. The tightness in your chest, the trembling in your hands, the restlessness at night, these are not enemies, they are messages. They are your body's way of saying, I remember. Please pay attention, please help me heal. You are not broken. You are carrying unspoken stories. And the fact that you are still here, still breathing, still seeking healing, that is strength. That is resilience. That is proof that you are capable of transformation. So here is my invitation to you. The next time you feel overwhelmed, don't rush to silence it. Don't numb it, don't bury it. Pause, breathe, listen. Your nervous system is telling you the truth your mind has forgotten. And within that truth lies the beginning of freedom. Because freedom is not found in forgetting. Freedom is found in remembering differently. It is found in bringing light to the shadow, compassion to the wound, and presence to the body. Jung believed that what is hidden must one day be faced. Neuroscience agrees that the body can be rewired. And philosophy reminds us that freedom is not given, it is chosen. So choose today. Choose to listen. Choose to heal. Choose to become whole. And as you walk this path, remember, you are not alone. If this message speaks to you, I invite you to join me on this journey. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you will be the first to know when I share the next message, another step, another insight, another reminder that you are capable of awakening. Because healing begins with awareness, and awareness begins with listening.